In our readings, the figures of Elijah and Peter represent ways of experiencing and knowing of a personal encounter with God, a spiritual encounter. God in search of us and our search of God. We consider the figure of Elijah, the one God is searching for. In a time of personal crisis and defeat, Elijah, sheltered in a cave, encounters the Lord in a tiny whispering sound, as the text describes it. Elijah goes and stands at the entrance of the cave, hiding his face as the Lord passed by. In the tiny whispering sound, God drew near Elijah in a quietness, signaling an intimacy, showing how grace often works in stillness and quiet, proving his care is both active and tender. Elijah's spirit and energy are restored in God's search for the prophet. Here we see the God in search of souls. The consideration that God is one searching for souls is good news. It brings us comfort and hope. Pope Francis frequently taught that God is not distant, but is a Father who actively comes in search of us, especially when we are feeling lost. He spoke of the seeking Father, the God who worries over who is missing, longs for the absent, and takes the first steps to find the lost. What a different perspective of the God many of us were taught growing up, of a God who is distant, stern, and judging. We consider the figure of Peter. I suggest the one in search of God. In Matthew's text, the disciples saw Jesus walking on the stormy sea. At Jesus' urging of Peter, and Peter in his exuberance and eagerness steps out of the boat to walk to Jesus. And it works for a moment, but then fear overcame him. Sinking into the sea, he reaches to grab the hand of Jesus, who pulls him to safety, to rest in the boat from this ordeal of nearly drowning. Peter's desire for closeness to Jesus and his confidence in doing the extraordinary. No one ever walked on water except Jesus, but Peter thought he could too. Peter's overwhelmed in his little faith, as Jesus described it. The moment of near drowning exposed his deeper fears and uncertainties and his loss of focus. His reaching for the hand of Jesus drew him into a deeper intimacy with Jesus, an awareness of his reliance and trust in him. So I suggest Peter is one searching for God in his life. On this text, St. Augustine wrote, imagining he was addressing Peter personally, "The Lord leaned down and took you by the hand. With your strength alone you cannot rise. Hold tight to the hand of the one who reaches down to you." In the Old Testament, or the Hebrew Scriptures, the hand of God, like the hand of Jesus extended to Peter, the hand of God is a metaphor often used to describe God's mercy, protection, and guidance for the covenant people of Israel. An image that perhaps resonates with those who have experienced God's presence in times of hardship and struggle, the hand they grab onto and hold. So back to St. Augustine. His pastoral insight encourages all those in search of God to trust and embrace the Lord, who does not withhold his care for us, but pulls us closer into his sacred presence. In our faith and spiritual journey, we may see times when God comes in search of us, as God did for Elijah. In times of doubt, uncertainty, loneliness, failing health, in grief, in the challenges of parenting, caring for our aging parents, running a household, pursuing studies and degrees, hearing news of war and abuse, feeling discouragement and fatigue from so much division and conflict in our world. In these times, God comes searching for us. God's healing and peace is a grace that can suddenly fill us with courage and restore our hope. We are aware of our own search for God as it was for Peter, in discerning our call and vocation, for clarity in times of uncertainty, for keeping our focus on Jesus and his mission of reconciliation, for healing in times of heartache, brokenness, and loss. In these times of searching for God, we try to remain humble, trusting, and hold on to the assurance that all will be well. As we prepare to celebrate the Eucharist, we see bread and wine blessed, broken, and shared. We hold in our hearts the gift of God's presence in our lives, in our church, and in all lives. God's search for us as one who nourishes us, and our search for God in whom we find our peace.